This is my form to function. I am Taylor Gervais, riding Springs Toe-Bie for the 4-H Horsemaster level. Part 2A, explain how your horse's conformation affects his or her movement. First off, we're going to start at a walk. First thing you see is that his angle of shoulder, so from his withers to the point of his shoulder, is probably a little less than 45 degrees, making it so that his stride is a little shorter. Next, you see that his tempo is pretty good. He walks naturally like that. He is also well balanced. You also see that his neck is pretty short and kind of fat, which is really common for his breed, the stocky breed that he is. And you can also see here that he's got a little bit of an extended walk, not very much, due to his short angle of shoulder. And now we are going to go into the jog. Again, you can see that his stride is a little short. It is also quick for being a jog. Usually a jog has long, slow strides, but because of his angle of shoulder, he needs to take shorter strides. And also because of his short neck, it's easier for him to balance himself by taking short strides and having his head up a little higher. Again, the tempo is a little quick for a jog, but that is how he naturally jogs, and because of his angle of shoulder and his neck, that is acceptable. When it comes to being collected and him rounding up, it's a little difficult for him to do because he does have a little bit of a short back and a little bit of a short neck, so it's more difficult for him to do that and lengthen his stride. And that is why he jogs as he does. Now we are going to go into the posting trot. He's looking off at something in the distance, which is why he's picking his head up. Here you can see that his stride is lengthened a little bit, not a whole lot. He's able to cover a little more ground that way. Because of his small angle of shoulder, he can't extend much more. For being a pleasure horse, he should be able to extend a little more, which is why he wouldn't place very well in a pleasure class. His tempo is a little quick for a jog. It should be a little more extended. When it comes to being rounded up and collected, his head should be down lower and his neck should be about horizontal with his back. Now we're going to go into the extended posting trot. His stride doesn't lengthen very much when it comes to the extended trot. He does speed up a little bit and lift his head up a little bit further so he can balance himself better. Again, because of his short neck and his small angle of shoulder, he can't extend much further, so when it comes to pleasure, he wouldn't be the very ideal horse. The same as the regular posting trot, his tempo is a little quick. He could be more extended and use more balance when it comes to putting his head down and using his shoulders and the rest of his body. Now we're going to go into the lope. Same as with the trot and the extended trot, his stride is a little short. It would be nice to see him extend his stride a little bit in the lope. For him, this is the most comfortable lope. He balances himself well. He could be a little more rounded, but again, because of his short back and neck, it's difficult for him to do. And again, his tempo is a little fast. It could be a little slower for a lope. And now we're going to go into the English canter. This, he's got a pretty nice stride. It could be a little longer for English. He balances himself well. He does lower his head a little bit. He could be a little more rounded again. His tempo is also very even and nice for an English canter. And now we're going to go into the hand gallop. Here you see he extends even more and he speeds up his stride. The tempo is pretty nice. He could be extending a little more. He does drop his head a little bit and stretch out. which is nice. It is also fairly smooth. And again, he could lengthen his stride and extend more to make it a little more faster and cover a little more ground. Part 2B. Explain what jobs your horse would be or is best at considering both conformation and temperament. So here you see he is really stocky horse. He is 16 hands, so he's got a nice height on him. He does have a little bit of a short neck. He has high withers and strong shoulders. And again, you see that he's got a short and quick walk, which is what his natural gait is. He can cover quite a bit of ground like this. He is also very muscular in all areas. He's got a very nice rounded rump and strong shoulders. His trot is very smooth. It is a little bit short-strided, but he can cover quite a bit of ground with it, which means he would be very good for trail riding and going on long-distance rides. This is also pretty good for a Western pleasure horse. It's very smooth and relaxed, and he looks comfortable doing it. He can do this for a long time considering how muscular he is, so that would also be good for long trail rides when you are trying to cover a big distance. Next is his posting trot. This again is also kind of quick and short-strided, but it is very easy to post. It is very smooth. This can cover quite a bit of ground, so it would be ideal for somebody who's trying to ride across the state on a trail ride, and it's also pretty good for a pleasure horse. Next is his extended posting trot. This covers a little more ground. It is also fairly smooth. He could be a little more rounded and have a longer stride so you could cover more distance, but he is well balanced, which means it would make for a fairly good pleasure horse or a trail horse. Next is his lope. His lope is very smooth, very easy to sit, which means it would be good for covering distances on a trail. It's also very good for a Western pleasure horse, which he is. His canter, his regular canter, which is a little more extended, is also good for covering ground, and it's fairly good for a English pleasure horse. He could be a little more extended, but he is a Western horse. Next is his hand gallop. He doesn't speed up much more than that, but if you're just trying to cover a little more ground and get him to stretch out on the trails, this would be pretty ideal. Part 2C. Explain what jobs your horse is not suited for, considering both conformation and temperament. What will he definitely not excel at? Obviously, he is very stocky. He has a shorter neck and a shorter back. He's also got a little bit of a shorter legs. So obviously, because of his shorter stride and his stockiness, he would not be very good at dressage or any English type of classes. He doesn't round up very much, so he wouldn't be a perfect Western pleasure horse. His trot, again, he's got a very short stride. This is pretty good for a Western pleasure horse, but if he wanted to go into the circuit with him, it wouldn't fare very well because he needs a longer stride, and with that he would need a little bit of a longer neck in order to stretch out and use the rest of his body better. His posting trot, again, his stride is short and quick, so that means he would not be good for dressage or English pleasure or a jumping horse. He doesn't have the long enough stride for it, and he is also too stocky. It would be hard for him to really get up and move and get over those tall jumps. Next is his extended posting trot. Again, it is short-strided, which means it would not be good for jumping, where he really needs to cover some ground in order to get over those jumps. It would also not be good for dressage or an English pleasure horse. Next is his lope. It is a little short-strided, so it wouldn't be the ideal Western pleasure horse, but it is fairly good for what he's being used for. His regular canter is a little short-strided, which means it wouldn't be good for a dressage horse or a jumping horse who needs to extend and cover a lot more ground in order to speed up and do what they are needed. His hand gallop is also, again, short-strided, which means he would not be suited for jumping or anything that requires him to lengthen his stride and move out more.